one last announcement, and that is there is a service tonight at 6 o'clock. Okay, you may want to show up. I think the guy's name that's speaking, I think it's David Reeves. So be prepared to come in and find out what that's about. Now we're going to have prayer time. Oh, are there any prayer requests? Yes.
Miss Claudia.
John Curry, him and Christy used to come. Matthew's dad has got some heart issues that he's really scared about. So he definitely needs.
That's John.
John Curry.
Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Lord, we lift these prayer concerns up to you, Lord. We lift John up to you, his heart concerns. God, we also lift Randy and his heart concerns up to you and his challenges with circulation. God, we ask you to be with Miss Claudia. We miss her smile here with us. I thank you for this church family, this awesome time when we can be together. We can grow closer to you by getting into your word and by hugging on each other and by lifting each other up. Lord, I would just ask that you would be with those who are going to camp this Monday and those who just came back from camp Friday. Lord, help that to have been a great experience in their lives. We love you, Lord. Be with us. Open our hearts and our minds to what you have for us today. We thank you for Nate bringing the word, Lord. We lift him up to you. And we love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Re-engage music. Oh.
There's our mission moment. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. That's from Psalms 136:1. With 45% of people in Kosovo, I think that's spelled wrong, Kosovo, living in poverty, the cost of food often exceeds the family's needs. The reason why I chose this is because I want you to understand how the Nazarene missions works. And what they do is, through Compassionate Ministries, they have a greenhouse project. And they will go on these people's property and help them put up a greenhouse, and they get to keep part of the food, and then they sell part of it and give the money back to the church. Isn't that not wonderful? Because they're giving those people they're giving those people a way to help take care of themselves, but also a way to help others. And so I love the Nazarene Church. I know we're not the only church, I got that. But I like the way we do missions and how God is using that. So it helps move them from a reality of food scarcity to food security and economic development. So it's a beautiful thing. And that's our mission moment for us guys. Thank you.
We're going to sing "In My Heart," Doreen's melody. Stand as we worship God today. Here we go. I have a song that Jesus gave me. It was sent from heaven above. The never was a sweeter melody. 'Tis the melody of love. In my heart there rings a melody. There rings a melody with heaven's harmony. In my heart there rings a melody. There rings a melody of love. I love a Christ who died. love that song. I like to do that one for Clarice and Claudia, and they couldn't be with us this morning, so you make sure you tell them that we missed them. We are going to, at this point, we're going to continue with worship, but I just have to say a couple of things. Several of our youth just got back from church camp. We had a wonderful time at Camp Garner Creek, and if you have a moment, you might say hi to Terry or Taylor and ask them how it went. And Nate was there, and I was there, Carly was there. Nick was there. He's with his family this morning. He wants me to tell everybody hi. And we're going to continue with our worship here today. Over the mountains and the sea, your river runs with love for me. So I will open up my heart and let the healer set me free. I'm happy to be in His room, so I will daily lift my hands, for I will always sing of when you're looking down. I will sing of your love forever. 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 Go ahead, stand up again. Over the mountains and the sea, your river runs with love for me. So I will open up my heart and let the healer set me free. I'm happy to be in His room, so I will daily lift my hands, for I will always sing when you're looking down. I will sing of your love forever. 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 Oh, I feel like dancing. It's foolishness, I know. When the world has seen the light, they will dance in joy like we're dancing now. Over the mountains and the sea, your river runs with love for me. So I will open up my heart and let the healer set me free. I'm happy to be in His room, so I will daily lift my hands, for I will always sing when you're looking down. I will sing of your love forever. 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 Your love has captured me. Your grace has set me free. Your light, the air I breathe, be glorified in me. Set my feet to dancing, set my heart on fire. In the presence of 1,000 kings, you are my one desire. And I stand before you now with trembling hands lifted high. Be glorified. Your love has captured me. Your grace has set me free. Your light, the air I breathe, be glorified in me. You set my feet to dancing, Set my heart on fire in the presence of 1,000 kings. You are my one desire. I stand before you now with trembling hands lifted high. Be glorified in me. Be glorified in me. Be glorified in me. Be glorified. Set me to dancing, set my heart on fire in the presence of 1,000 kings. You are my one desire. I stand before you now with trembling hands lifted high. Be glorified. Thank you. You may be seated. We're going to take time out for our tithes and offerings at this time. We'll ask our ushers to come forward.
Thank you, dear Lord. Thank you for waking us this morning, bringing us to your house so that we can worship you in our holy, of acknowledging you are the Father, King of our existence. We ask that you put on over our hearts so that we may make right decisions in a world which makes it difficult. I also ask for prayer for all of those who are in need, for the homeless, for people who are struggling. I say this in our Father, Son, and name, Jesus Christ, amen.
Your love, oh Lord, reaches to the heavens. Your faithfulness stretches to the sky. And now it is my pleasure to introduce you to my brother and my friend, a wonderful, wonderful man of God, Nate Pruitt. This guy has been a coach of our soccer teams, a helpful coach of our basketball teams, a youth leader, a pastor, a friend, and as always, and now for the good part.
Good morning. It's always a joy to be here. Jacoby and I were talking about this the other day. I'm sorry. And he said they want you. And I went, okay, well let me pray and see if there's a word for me. Thank you. And so I prayed and prayed that I would be able to bring a message, and God laid a message on my heart, and I got back a hold of him, and I went, man, I don't know why I never get to bring an easy one when I go to the road. So I don't know why I don't get to just like give everyone a pat on the back and say, yeah, like, you know, just go. And he laughed, and he goes, I keep telling him. He goes, I have enough conversations with you. I keep telling them, like, you guys sure you want Nate? And so here we are. And I am trusting the God who is faithful. I am trusting the God who is faithful to be with us this morning, to encourage us this morning, even in the midst of conviction. And this one has been a tough one for me. It's actually a whole series, but we're not going to drag it out that long because I'm not going to keep you right until David starts this evening for service. You're welcome. It's okay. There's been this incredible trend, and I appreciate it because I've been a Christian blogger before. I'm a Christian blogger on indefinite hiatus right now. I don't know if God's going to lead me back to writing online, but I understand there's been this incredible trend of articles about why are people leaving the church? And everyone seems to have all these different reasons. And the thing that blows me away in so many of these, we'll bottle his energy and sell it after, don't worry about it. The thing that blows me away in so many of these is that it's always about like the individual. It's just Yelp reviews for church. Well, the pastor didn't come to my house on Tuesday when I wanted to come to the house on Tuesday. And, you know, like that, it's Yelp reviews for church. It's just that I didn't get what I wanted. I wasn't allowed to be exactly who I wanted. So that's why I want to leave the church. That's not reason to leave the church. But are we showing that there needs to be something more? Are we showing what it is to truly live and walk the life of faith? So there are a few things that I think would help the church if we are going to have people come. Because I think when the manifest power of the kingdom of God is present in the church, people don't leave. Other than those who don't want to be a part of the kingdom. And at that point, that's fine because we let them leave because we're just praying for them. Because at some point, they're going to know that they need the kingdom, they're going to come back. If not to us, they're going to come back. Like, that's it. Like, we don't stop praying for them. But we're not going to have people walking out in a huff because of their own personal reasons, because walk and live and dwell within the life of the kingdom. When you see God at work, you want to be there.
That's right.
As long as you're not playing for the opposing team, you want to be there. In fact, that was Jonah's whole complaint, right? He goes to Nineveh. And he didn't want to go because he knows how bad the Ninevites are. They're bad. They are. They're really bad. Like, they had made torture and art. They devastated communities. And, like, he didn't want to go there. And Jonah goes to Nineveh, and he finally brings the word that God told him to bring, which was what? Death, right? That you're going to die because you don't honor the Lord, because you don't serve Him, because you don't live for the kingdom. You're going to die. And they confess that they're wrong. They repent and lament. In fact, I love it because, like, it always reminds me of Mushu. Has anyone ever seen the Disney movie Mulan? Or Carly's in on this. Mulan offends her little dragon friend at one point, and so he just, he starts dishing out dishonor. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your family, dishonor on your cow. Of course, it's a horse, but that's the funny part, is that you dishonor on your cow. This is actually how the Ninevites lived. They're like, we've dishonored God. And the king sends out decrees, like everyone. Sackcloth, mourning, like, we have broken God's heart. We have broken God's heart. We need to mourn. You mourn, your families mourn, your livestock mourns. Can you imagine how hard it is to put sackcloth on cows? I know we have all new reasons to mourn. But this is where they were. And I think there's this incredible and strange, and of course, God forgives them, and Jonah goes, I knew you were going to do that. Yeah. But I think this is part of, like, what humbles us so greatly in the church, is that, like, to start with, we've given up on confessing. We quit confessing. We have to show up and already be perfect Christians. We quit confessing that we struggle, that we have hurts and heartaches, that we don't walk perfectly with God every second of every day, and that sometimes we mess up. But we can't let it go. It's a part of what we're called to do. In fact, James even goes so far to point out that, like, without the confession, we don't see the healing. Right? Confess your sins to each other. You pray over, have the elder anoint you with oil, and you will be healed. And I'm like, man, maybe we can just, like, do, like, part B of the verse and just,
Who's hot?
But they were confessing, they're lamenting, their hearts are broken. Sometimes in the church, and you may have heard it on the radio, we sing this song, break my heart for what breaks yours. We're really talking about, like, all these, like, outside things. And, like, God's heart breaks when we don't listen to Him, when we don't walk with Him, when we don't live in loving fellowship with Him. And we have to confess that. Now, for some of that may mean that we still are trapped within sin of doing things that we shouldn't do. But for plenty of us, it may just mean that we're blowing James 4:17. Anyone that knows the good he should do and doesn't do it, sins. I'll confess. I've blown it. There are times where God tells me to do something and I go, I don't know how Steve's going to receive me if I come to him and say this to him. I love Steve. I want him to keep smiling at me just like he is right now. Like, I don't know if I can go and talk to him about this. And God's like, look, you're the messenger and you're the one who needs to go there. And I blow it. In fact, I want to get to the point. My mentor in youth ministry shared us this story, and it blew me away. In fact, it blew my buddy Dale away this week when I shared it with him at camp. And I watched all these teens sit in this room and, like, not get a dog. So we were down at Braden First Church at the time. Braden First Church, the sanctuary is like a giant bowl. And so there's a retirement village for former missionaries, and there are a lot of former Nazarene missionaries in the Bradenton area of the retirement village. And when they come into the church and they sit up at the top edge because navigating the grade down into the sanctuary is really difficult for a lot of them. Now walking's hard. And so one of the ladies from that village had seen my buddy Jerry, the pastor. And Jerry was kind of down in the bowl. Jerry knew nothing about this on that Sunday. But the next Sunday, she caught him in the foyer first thing and confessed, Jerry, I'm so sorry. Last week I saw you down there, and God told me that I needed to go and talk to you, and that I needed to give you a hug, and that you needed it. And I looked at how far away you were, and I thought, I can't possibly get there in time. It's hard for me to walk down this. And I didn't do it. And I have been convicted by that all week. That I didn't give you that hug. And I am so sorry that I missed that opportunity. And that I didn't do that for you. Will you please forgive me? He was blown away. I want to get there. I want to get to the point where when I'm confessing to people that I've blown it, it's because I didn't give them a hug when I'm supposed to give them a hug, and I'm going to start giving out the hugs that I need to give out. Every day we can grow in righteousness. And so then the kingdom will be there. When our biggest problem is missing a couple of hugs here and there, and we get to make it up the next week, then I think we're really going to be nailing it as the church. But it starts with the confessing what it is that we have in our lives that's setting us back. If you're having fear and if you're having doubt, that's okay. Confess it. In fact, you know what? Tell your kids and tell your grandkids. Because they hear all the verses you quote, and they hear all the other things, and sometimes they may not think that they can live up to the perfect level of Christianity that you have, and they need to hear that you're still on the journey. They need to know that you're walking along, and that some days it's a struggle for you too. And that you're still seeking Christ, and you're still loving Him, and you still want to get closer, and you still want it to be better. Because you want to see this manifest power of the kingdom of God all around you. And you won't hold back until you do. Because I think they stop leaving then. Here's another thing that we do. We testify. We have to testify. Has anyone here, and it may have been a while, has anyone here ever been in a service where the testimony started and the sermon never happened and it was some of the best church you've been to?
Amen.
Right? I've been there. People are getting up and talking about the good things that God did in their life, and the next thing you know, we're at the altars and we're crying and we're celebrating, we're rejoicing with those who are rejoicing, we're mourning with those who are mourning, which is exactly what Paul's telling us the church is supposed to be. And the manifest power of the kingdom of God is there, and no one wants to leave, and the pastor eventually just gets up and goes, well, I had a sermon. But I think we've seen that God's been at work today. Are we still trusting to do that? You know that's how you slay dragons? It's my favorite version of the Christmas story. I still can't get a church to do this as a Christmas cantata. It's my favorite version of the Christmas story. Revelation. The dragon and the woman with the child. Come on, man. For free. Just an idea. Just going to float out there for Bell Road. If you want to have a dragon and everything that you do for Christmas and show God overcoming the dragon. I don't know. We may get some people excited about Christmas and the cantata this year. I'm sure David can come up with some good dragon songs. Steve may be too happy for good dragon songs, so you may have to ground him for that. But I mean, I love this because, you know, at the end you get to this verse and it talks about how they overcame the dragon, the one who wanted to destroy, by the blood of the Lamb, the word of their testimony. So Christ already paid the price on the cross. And so now we just get to speak that truth, right? If God's doing great things in your life, I can't be the only one who's gotten too quiet. Man, I've had God do great things in my life, and didn't want to bring it up in church. Didn't want to mention it in church. I can talk about that. That's probably not the right thing to mention in the church service. And there was power in it. There was power in it. Here's one that I haven't shared, but I need to share. It was early in December, a few years ago. I knew that things weren't good with the kids. The situation on the other side was that they had brought forth a bunch of things that weren't completely unfounded in court to try to keep the judge distracted so that he couldn't hear what I was saying for the sake of my child. And what they were trying to do is they were trying to get me caught in They wanted to keep arguing that I wasn't sharing the things that I needed to share, that I wasn't doing the things that I needed to do. And they wanted to just try to get me sent to jail and show that I was just a very awful person. So they were trying to get me held in contempt. And so they offered 2 settlements, and they were both horrible. It would have involved things where I knew that I wouldn't be able to look out for the kids, where I knew I wouldn't be able to care for them the right way. And those were the only 2 options that were on the table. It was bad and worse. And the worst option was this, that we take a week, that we show back up, that stuff that I couldn't provide because I knew for a fact it wasn't in my possession, would somehow magically appear at the court. And I started praying. I love those kids. I love those kids with my whole life. And I started praying. God said, you can't take the one that the attorney says is the easy option. You can't take the one that's as good as it gets. And I was shaking. I was shaking, but I knew what I had to do. I was physically shaking, tearing up in the hallway outside of the courtroom. And God said, you're going to have to take the one that might get you thrown in jail. Ooh. But you know when you hear him, right? You know when you hear him. It's a good shepherd. My sheep know my voice, and I knew it was God. So she had this little lady who had a messed up hip, and that was her attorney, and my ex hadn't even shown to court that day because she knew that they were going to hit me with some rugged stuff. And her attorney just kind of hobbled in and out of the courthouse when she did, and my attorney was a good young Jewish boy. And he looks at me and he goes, I can tell you right now, I don't see where there's any way that we get out of this. If you take that option that might lead you to jail, I don't see how there's any way I keep you out of jail. I'll give it my best, but I don't see how there's any way. And I had one friend from the church there with me, and I said, Bob, pray with me, pray with me. My attorney stepped into another courtroom because he'd been asked to go in there real quick, and when he came back out, I said, I've got to go with it. I can't let it go. And I couldn't, because God told me not to let it go. And he goes, well, I work for you, so I'll say whatever you want me to say. And he walked in there, and I watched him go through the courtroom, and I watched him lean over and whispered in her ear exactly what we decided to do. And she looked shocked, but he turned and he walked away, and I could see him sigh, and he went and he grabbed everything that he had, and he started putting it in his attache case, and he started closing it up, and he looked at me, and he just shrugged, and I just shrugged back. And she hopped up out of her seat, and she ran across the courtroom to him. Which one, I'm pretty sure they're not supposed to do, and two, she wasn't really physically capable of running, but like I'm telling you right now, she ran. And she grabbed him real quick by the sleeve. She asked him to lean down. He leaned down. She whispered in his ear, and his head popped up. He was facing back towards me, and he looked right at me, and it was like he'd seen a ghost. His eyes were huge. He couldn't believe it. And she kept whispering, and he nodded, and he said, thanks. Like I could read his mouth. He said, thanks, okay, I'll let him know. And she limped back over to her seat, and he walked over, and he goes, you're not going to believe it. They're willing for us to sit at the table and go through mediation and talk and see what we can do to make sure that, you have every right to those tables. So they're here today, and they're with me on every Sunday. So I can't leave because I've seen the manifest power of the kingdom of God at work. And you know what? Life's still not easy, and they get to hear that. Because I have to tell them when it's hard so that I can tell them when God came through, because he does. Over and over and over again. So they get to hear that. Because how are my kids going to grow in faith if I keep trying to fix it all by myself, and every time God comes through, I don't let them know? I think we've gotten so good at keeping our faith and our relationship with God a secret, even in some of our own households, and we forget to testify in front of our own family members, and because we go, well, that's silly, it's just finding keys. Well, if you really need to find the keys, and you prayed about it, and then you found the keys, and God was at work, go ahead and let someone know. Don't be ashamed. There's nothing too small for him. He breathed life into you. He's invested. It's okay. This is where we're going to see it happen in our church. And then let's pray these prayers in faith, because these testimonies embolden our faith. These testimonies embolden our faith. And then we can pray in faith. We were so close to missing out on one of the greatest revivalists in all of North America. Charles Finney was an attorney. Hundreds of thousands were saved under his ministry, and he didn't have football stadiums like Billy Graham. He was doing it a little bit more than. So it took a bit more work and a little bit more travel to get to them all. But he was an attorney, and his pastor hated having him come to the Bible study and everything all the time, because Finney showed up to everything. As a skeptic, as an avowed atheist, a Bible reading about atheists, but an avowed atheist. One of his biggest complaints was the church. He goes, we get together for the prayer meeting, and everyone walks in, right, doing that Charlie Brown walk? Yeah. So they come walking in, doing the Charlie Brown walk, and they show up, and they all get together, and, does anyone have any prayer requests? Yeah. And so they prayed about him. And they got up. Because I can do that without believing in God. I can be just as sad about my circumstances before and after a prayer meeting without ever believing in God. You guys say you believe in God, and then you show up and you pray to Him, you don't think anything's going to change. You have no hope. So maybe the whole thing's bogus. By the way, Finney got saved in the woods. I think that's kind of the tricky thing about God. If the church won't do its work, He'll just go and grab some people where He can find it. few years later, his pastor actually proclaimed salvation because of hearing Finney minister for so long. Said, I never did have it until I heard you preach it. And his pastor was But this weird thing started happening where when he would go and speak and they would have these prayer meetings and they would have these revivals and people would see like healing happen. People would see relationships change. They would be praying for someone at the altar that was in the family and the person would come in through the back of the church and they never cast a shadow in the church. Because we don't go through the motions when we pray. Right? We just pray in faith. And sometimes if it seems like I'm missing it, I start changing the prayer. God, I need to know, what the promise is on this. Whatever it is you're going to promise, that I know is going to come true, so let me pray towards that. I know I get selfish sometimes and I pray the me prayer instead of the you prayer. So let me know what it is that you want me to pray. I think that's one of the best things is pray in the Spirit. I don't think it's a complicated thing. Some people try to turn it into like this weird mumbo jumbo and everything. Like, I don't think praying in the Spirit is that complicated. I think it's just saying, God, I don't do a lot of things super well, and prayer would probably fall into that category. I want to make sure that I do this right. Please lead me through this prayer. Newsflash, it's really awkward. I'll minister and people ask me to pray for them. And the first thing I do before I say anything is I start to ask God to lead me through the prayer. And the next thing I know, I'm praying about things. I'm going, I don't know this about this person. And I don't know if I should be saying this right now. And God's going, you need to keep going. And I'm going, all right. And I'm praying, and I'll open my eyes up at the end. They're bawling. And I'm going, what happened? They're like, how did you go? I think that's it, praying in the Spirit, right? Because the Spirit knows what the need is. Sometimes we don't even know how to voice what it is that the real problem is. I know my kids don't, but I felt like them plenty of times. As I was getting older, I had to pray constantly. God, why am I angry? Because I didn't know. I mean, yeah, I could look at the thing that had triggered whatever was really upsetting me at the time and could feel like my blood pressure rising and everything. But I was like, that couldn't possibly be it. I've been cut off thousands of times. I drive in Nashville. What is it really, Lord? And He would begin to unfold and reveal to me the things of my heart. He would show me why I was really angry, and I'd be like, God, can you have that? And He's so good. He says, yeah, of course, I'll take that. So I got to have all this peace in my life that I didn't think I was ever going to have in my life. Because when I was a teenager in my house, the immediate response to a question was to scream. And it went both ways. Because that was all we had modeled. And I mean, like, my mom's a good God-fearing woman. But she's still growing in faith. In fact, that's one of my favorite things. I don't think I've seen anyone grow as much as I've seen my mom grow. So her life and testimony matters to me. It keeps me in. You know that makes a difference, right? My mom knew that where she was coming from and what she brought into our household was physical and verbal abuse to my brother and I. And we were going through that when we were kids. And she got help. Thanks be to God. She got help. I've watched her change. You should see her with my kids. It's a totally different woman. She loves those grandbabies. She loves those grandbabies. I don't have to fear for them and their well-being when they're around her. She's crazy about them. Patient? Ooh, I didn't know that there could be patience like that woman. But I know the Holy Spirit's in her. And I know one of the fruit of that Spirit is patience. And so I get to see it manifest in her life. So I'm in. I'm not leaving the church because I see what God does when He's showing up. Are people getting to see what God does when we show up? So that He can show up. Do we keep gathering and believing it? I think God wants to grow this church through some bumps and bruises and pains that those of us that are here today have. And he's not going to be able to if we spend the whole time covering them all up. Acting like they're not here. Pretending like there's no problem. Not talking about what God does something amazing in our lives. Our young people need that. Our young people need to understand because they're frustrated because it feels like it's too much. Because I've seen them and I've heard some fear in them going, hey, camp's over. Camp's over and I've got to go home. And I know what home is like. And I've been to camp with a girl who went home on fire and got kicked out of home. Fortunately not this year. But we've got to show them that we're on the journey too. And that God is good at every step of the journey. And that this is real and that we are growing and that this is something where God comes down and leads us and guides us. And that the church matters and that there's faith to be had. I think we're going to make a lot more progress through confession and testimony and earnest prayer. Earnest prayer. Don't you quit until you get an answer, earnest prayer. Then will I explain to people why they're wrong. And we'll walk them away from that pride that says church was all about me to this humility that says church has always been about us. Man, we're journeying together. Man, we're walking together. And it's not easy. Some days it's downright hard. But God is in the midst. And our church is there together. And here's the last thing. Pray for your pastor. Pray for him. Because I know him. And he's praying for you. But you know he's a planner. He is. He's a thinker. He's a problem solver. It served him well as a manager and in all these positions he's had. And he's looking at your problems and he wants to help. Pray for him that the Spirit continues to walk with him so he doesn't try to do it on his own. Because he does. He wants to help and he loves you guys. But it's too much for him to carry on his own. Pray for your pastor. Pray for your pastor that he continues to have the wisdom. Pray for your pastor and don't be surprised when God says, hey, you know what Jacoby could really use? You showing up in that hospital room before he can get there because today's going to be a tough day for him. And that other person in the church needs to know that someone from Bell Road loves him. Pray for each other. You know your name. If someone comes to mind, like, I don't get this whole like thinking good. I don't know what it is. I don't need Steve thinking about me. Steve thinking about me isn't going to do me any good. But if Steve's praying for me, man, I'll take that all day. Pray for each other. In fact, if he lays it real heavy on you, go ahead and pray for him. And if you say, God, do you want me to let him know? Let him know. Shoot him a little text. Drop him a line. I'm praying for you today. Pray for each other. Be the church. Because there's some really fun, quick, bang ways to grow church real fast, and then you just realize that it's got no substance. It's a chip bag. Chip bags. It looks so good when you get it out there. It's going to be amazing. And then you open it up and you go, so grow where we are praying for each other, where we're confessing, where we are faithful to testify. Do it that hard way that's been set before us. Make disciples. We don't make disciples by talking to people. We make disciples by walking with people. You know how you become a disciple? You get covered in the dust of someone that's already journeyed before you. Jesus' gracious and loving reminder to Peter. Get behind me, Satan. He's just putting Peter back in place as a disciple. Trust me, he said it differently. At the end of the temptation, he goes, leave me, Satan. He said it differently. He just reminds Peter, you're being an adversary to the work and word of God. Get behind me. That's what our people need. They need to be led by someone else who just walks on the journey just a few steps ahead. We're all called to be disciples, right? We're all called to be disciples. I think people stop leaving the church when this stuff really happens. And God, help it to happen at a rate that we can keep up. Which I think is 3 weeks. I don't know, that's what I heard. Francis Chan was talking about it once. His buddy James got saved. 3 weeks later, he grabbed James by the shoulder and he goes, all right, buddy, well, you need to go minister to some people. And James goes, well, I've been a Christian for 3 weeks. And he goes, well, then you got a testimony, don't you? All right, let's go share it with some of your friends. And so people got saved under James' ministry. Because, I mean, 3 weeks is pretty good. But let's keep discipling. Let's keep being discipled and learning from our kids. Because you know what? Some days I'm a disciple of theirs because I learned some amazing things about what it really means to walk with Christ. All right, now, let's pray. Lord God, thank you for your great heart for your church. That you see in us such value that you continue to give us work to do. That you continue to give us opportunities to live for you. Help us to not miss these opportunities by keeping things inside, whether it be what we need to confess or what we need to testify. May we continue to lift up the strength of our God even in the midst of our weakness. Lord God, we ask for you to be in each and every life, that your Spirit not be quenched, but that we hear you throughout this week. That your Spirit not be quenched, but that we know you throughout this week. That as we walk under the guidance of the Good Shepherd, that we hear your voice and help us to be quick to obey. You call us to a great many things. Help us to be quick to obey. Help us to not be drawn away and distracted by the hurt and the heartache and the pain in our lives, but to know that you are with us, even if it means that you are weeping with us, because we also serve a God who weeps over our head. And Lord, help us to pray with broken hearts when we know that we fail. When we know that we failed, you help us to be brokenhearted, not just because we failed you, but brokenhearted because we broke your heart. Because we want this relationship to be so good that we come back to you, utterly devastated that we could hurt you. Knowing all that you've given for us, knowing all of your love for us, our God, help us to come back to you, not just saying, forgive me, but saying, God, I'm brokenhearted. I love you. I never meant to hurt you that way. I want to come back. Help us to be the church, the real church, the church in a way that others do not want to leave. I pray all of this in your matchless and holy name.